Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're coming to you from the Crime Prevention Security Systems in Kapalua, Hawaii.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, JC?
Yeah, look at that par 5 right there. Iconic hole in back. Yeah, it's a par 5 though, is it not?
Yeah, it's a par 5, but they play it basically like a par 4, most of them.
They absolutely do. Most of them do these days. And you've got the scenery in the background. It's a great – it is the beginning of golf season, which I don't really know even has an off season, to tell you the truth, QB. Does golf have an off season? So,
you basically can decide when your off season is when you're on tour.
Yeah, you can. That's true. And here they are out in Hawaii. And I think last year I remember Justin Thomas and Patrick Reed playing in a I think didn't Patrick Reed beat him or did Thomas win last year? Either way,
I couldn't tell you.
Great stuff.
I could not tell you.
Well, I love watching that tournament though. That's something about that course with all that stuff back there where you are. Oh man, it's a great place.
Pretty good scenery.
Yeah.
JC, we some news and notes around college football.
Sure.
The Gators have hired Wesley McGriff to help with the defense. He's been at Auburn, Ole Miss, a bunch of different places. I guess it's a good hire. Heck, I don't know. There are a lot of issues going on in Tennessee. I've still been on record for several months now thinking Jeremy Pruitt would be fired. I was thinking he's going to be fired due to can't win football games. He has one of the worst records of any Tennessee football coach.
Well,
now they got a lot of recruiting issues.
You know, there is so much drama in Knoxville. Doesn't it seem like Knoxville is the focal point of college football drama in the Southeastern Conference in many ways, with the way they've just bungled so many coaching hires up there and so unsuccessfully tried to find the right fit at Tennessee. And who knows what that is, but I don't know. You could be right. Your little prediction that Jeremy Pruitt is gone could be the case here. And, you know, we've got basically 20 some odd days, 25 days or so until the late signing period, which used to be the initial signing period for recruits. And Tennessee can certainly use all the help it can get, but it's hard to attract great talent to a school when the talent doesn't know if they're going to be coached by the guy who's coming to their house.
Well, here's the thing. Having said that, they had yesterday reported 16 players already entered the transfer portal at Tennessee.
It's a disaster. I mean, they are jumping off the ship like rats up there. So it's a disaster. You mentioned something about Florida's defense here a minute ago. You know, the Gators gave up 35 points or more 6 times this season, but they had done that only 3 times in Todd Grantham's first 2 years as the Florida defensive coordinator. So everybody who's ready to throw Todd Grantham in those bushes there behind your head, I think should just take a deep breath and step back and hope that they can find some guys up front to help solve some of the problems that they've had on defense, because it's not Todd Grantham. I've never thought it was. I've always thought that Dan Mullen felt he was the best guy to coach defense when he was hired at Florida. There's nothing that's changed in 2 years. This guy's been coaching for his whole life. So I'm going to support Todd Grantham, and I think eventually, when they get the players there, people will start to feel better about it.
JC, that may be the wisest thing you've said in quite some time, because here's the reason. I've been saying it all year long. Now Grantham has given up, every defense gives up plays.
Absolutely. I
think people were concerned about sometimes we didn't get lined up. Well, if you watched the Clemson Tigers the other night, they couldn't get lined up. But I had Steve Palazzolo on here, and I talked about it yesterday on the show.
I listened to that show.
He's from Pro Football Focus, where they grade every play. And he said to be an NFL draftable guy, you need to compete and grade out at 80 or above on their grading scale or what have you.
Right.
He said Florida didn't have one defensive player the entire year.
No, and it's absolutely right. And it shows how Grenard was so good last year for Florida, and how Zuniga, when he got to play after he was when he was healthy, meant a lot to that defense. And those were guys that were up front forcing offenses to alter what they try to do, and that's what Florida's missing. I mean, Dexter didn't pan out yet, or hasn't, or won't, and there's a couple guys that they just have to get to fill holes. I mean, they've got to find some players who can come in now. And they got to transfer from
Penn State, a big 320-pounder, which we needed. We lost the linebacker, James Houston, who plays sparingly here and there. But look, I have no problem if kids want to leave and go play elsewhere. Sometimes that's a good thing, because in college football, what you can't do when you have your exit meetings with all the players before the next season starts, you can't sit down and say, Johnny Cornell, we just don't think you're playing at a high enough level here at linebacker. We're not going to renew your scholarship. You need to go else. You can't do that. You can't do it in college football. And the reason why is because whatever high school area you came from, let's just say you came from the Gainesville Buchholz area because that's where you went to high school. Well, if you cut a kid from his scholarship, that coaching staff will never get another player from that school. So you can't do it. So that's why, in my opinion, the transfer portal is good for kids, but I bet you coaches love it because it's a way that they can kind of nudge a guy out, say, hey, Johnny, we got so-and-so coming in. We think he's going to be starting at outside linebacker. We got this other guy that probably the backup. Your playing time may be diminished or you may not play at all. They can put it that way and let the kid go, well, you know what? I need to go somewhere else. He just cut a kid that he wanted to cut, and he didn't actually do the cutting.
It makes them force that decision, and it gets the school and the coach off the hook from people who he counts on to send him players, or at least let him in the school to talk to kids or look at kids, whatever the case may be. I'm with you there 100%. And I think, Florida has always been known for their defense, for its defense. It's always been a great run defense in the past for more years than it hasn't. So eventually I think they're going to get back to that style of defense where they're very aggressive up front and they can stop the run. You stop the run, you give yourself a chance at least.
Yeah. Some other news and notes around the conference. If you missed it, Brian Harsin, the new head coach at Auburn, has hired Derek Mason, former Vandy head coach, to be his defensive coordinator. And also Mike Bobo is going to be his offensive coordinator, which was kind of an interesting move, in my opinion.
It was an interesting move. But Mike Bobo knows the conference, knows players here, knows the area. We'll see how he does. QB, I've got a question for you. And the one obvious so there of the 14 SEC coaches who started back in 2015, okay, so 6 years ago, there are just 2 left. And I know you know who one of them is because he's about to coach on Monday night. Name the other one. You probably will, but there's only one.
Wait, what, give me the question one more time.
Okay, so since 2015.
You were giving me way too much information. Just ask the question.
Well, since 2015, who's the only coach still coaching in the SEC today since 2015?
At his original school or no?
At the school he was hired to be the head coach for the first time.
Well, I guess Nick Saban's one of them.
Well, of course, yeah. So that we knew that one. He's about to play on Monday night.
And one other SEC coach?
The only one that's left, yeah.
Since 2015?
Yeah, so only 5 years.
Kirby?
Nope, Kirby. No, Mark Richt was the coach in 2015 at Georgia. So he's gone, of course. McElwain, of course, is gone from Florida.
Well, who's the answer?
Mark Stoops.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
So at Kentucky. So McElwain, Richt, Jones, Pinkel, Mason, Spurrier, Malzahn, Miles, Sumlin, Bielema, Freeze, and Dan Mullen at Mississippi State have all left since 2015. And I thought you were going to get that one. But we don't think of Kentucky football, do we?
No.
Although they won their bowl game, by God, and they beat a top 25 team, didn't they? Yes, they did.
That great NC State Wolfpack.
ACC 0-6. QB.
JC, second portion of the show today, we have Gainesville Sun, Zach Abolverdi talking Gator recruiting, Gator sports, all that stuff. We got a text on the Titan MR text line. It comes from our good friend Daryl. You're going to like this one.
Oh, yeah.
He says, speaking of Hawaii, guys, I'm flying with my family to Hawaii next Thursday.
Oh.
JC, I need some advice. I've never flown before. What should I expect?
First thing to do, I don't know what Daryl's alcohol habits could be, if he's a beer drinker or a liquor drinker, but I always like to go get a nice big tall beer before I get on a plane. And yeah, it makes you have to pee, but you can get on that plane and relax your mind and get all that anxiety out of your system by being distracted. So if you're going to Hawaii, you're going to be on a wide body, a long flight, and all this kind of thing. They'll likely have entertainment in the seat in front of you. Plug into that, buy the Wi-Fi, text your friends, email your businesses, do things that would keep your mind off all this, right? Because anxiety happens when you don't know what's going on and you're totally out of control. And if you distract your mind, that's the way to do it. So get a beer and then order the Wi-Fi and then watch TV on the flight. Darryl,
well,
good luck.
I would suggest, I know there's some type of pill that kind of you can take that kind of relaxes you.
Sure.
I forgot what it's called, but also, I mean,
I don't advocate pills.
Did Daryl pick the longest trip possible
to go on
his first flying trip? I mean, you could have flown to
Atlanta,
Dallas or somewhere.
Yeah, Daryl. Well, God bless Daryl. I just you will have a safe flight. It'll be nothing. You'll be fine.
Okay. Before we let JC go here later in the program, don't forget we're going to do our Peachland Dentistry, JC and the QB weekend picks. We're going to pick the playoff games. We're also going to pick, even though the golf tournament at Kapalua has started, we're going to pick a few golfers in that as well.
I like that.
JC, before we get to football, the professional football, we'll talk more about the national championship game on Monday.
You think Ohio State's? You think Ohio State's
basketball's in full swing right now. Alabama, Auburn play this weekend. A lot of good SEC games. Right. Kentucky comes to the O'Connell Center. I think Florida, coming off a loss, is going to rout Kentucky.
Rout them?
I do. No, my only concern is
rout them.
Well, Kentucky's not very good, JC. They went to double overtime at Mississippi State and won somehow. That gave them their second win of the year. They're at home at Rupp Arena. Vandy has a 3-point shot. It hit every part of the rim but go in to force overtime. Kentucky is not Kentucky. And I don't care. I don't think they're ever going to be Kentucky this year. So I think we will beat them. And I think we beat them handily at home.
5-2. Florida's 5-2, fifth in the conference right now, and I don't see why they wouldn't win that home game.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Metal Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Danny says, "Don't underestimate Kentucky." Has anybody ever said that?
I haven't.
Don't underestimate Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, listen.
I mean, it's freaking Kentucky. You don't underestimate them. From my eye test, and I watch a lot of college basketball.
Yes,
they are nowhere near what Kentucky is.
So you're not gonna confuse them with teams from the Kentucky's past. Certainly not this team. And their record is down right now. They are, but teams do seem to get better, I think, if they have the capability of getting better during the conference schedule a lot of times. And the conference schedule is a hard thing to get through. Missouri is a good team in this league. Tennessee is a good team in this league, evidently. Alabama. Arkansas is very talented. Alabama seems to be up this year with a pretty solid
LSU
record.
is loaded with talent.
LSU can play basketball. So I think it's a good conference. I think we really have a solid conference. Mississippi the other night beat Auburn. At home. Auburn is a team that has had some success with Bruce Pearl, right? But Bruce Pearl, isn't it funny about Auburn? They worry about, they hire Bruce Pearl and then they let go and they had to, he had a show cause when they hired him, but everything's worked out just fine. And these coaches can come back and create winning teams. And that's what Bruce Pearl's done at Auburn. But that team, I don't know if they're as good as they've been either. He did go to the Final Four.
They lost a ton of players last year.
Lost a lot of players, They sure did.
It doesn't matter. It's kind of basketball this year. Usually I love the tournament. Still, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But Gonzaga might be the most
that's
talented
your team.
college basketball team I've ever seen.
You're
I
laying
don't
that
see
down
them
right
losing.
now. You're laying that down right now.
Yes, they will win. We got a couple of texts here on the Titan Tomorrow text line. Let's see who they're from. They're from Joe. Joe says, how about the coach of the year from Coastal Carolina, Jamie Chatwell, which, I mean, he had a hell of a year.
Oh my gosh. And what a season for that team. And, I think that game they had against BYU really gave them the attention that I think he needed and that school needed to realize, hey, this team is a top 20 team. And they certainly had a memorable year. I don't know if he can do it again. It's hard to back up seasons like that at schools like that, but they could. I mean, he was a hot name. I really thought South Carolina was going to give him a hard look. Maybe they did. I don't know. But I thought that was going to be South Carolina's coach. I really did.
Yeah. BJ says here, Iowa wins it all. Iowa's a very good basketball team. I think Gonzaga's already rolled them out of the gym.
I'll tell you who else is good is that Texas Longhorn team he's got running over there.
Yeah,
they went up to Kansas and took care of business up there, and they're ranked 4th. I can't remember Texas being this solid even when Durant played.
Have you seen Shaka? Shaka Smart now has hair. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
funny looking.
I'll tell you what, that guy's I've always liked him, man. I've always liked what he's been able to do at his schools he's coaching. He's exciting basketball to watch, and Texas, I think, is legit for sure.
George says on the Titan Tomorrow text line, congratulations to Kyle Pitts for winning the Mackey Award. Which that was like a given. That was the one award that there was no suspense in last night.
Right. I think Harris won his award. I think
Alabama won every award.
Yeah, they won every
award.
Well, I hope they get to play Monday night. I'm not sure what's going on up there in Columbus.
They're playing Monday night. Book it.
Yeah. Well, Corona or no Corona, right?
They're playing Monday night. They're not changing the game. No way.
Okay.
No way.
I hope so, because if they give them an extra week, what happens if Alabama comes back the following week and says we got coronavirus issues?
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. January is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane to receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be joined after the first break with the Gainesville Sun's Zach Abolverdi.
Why are you so confident they're going to play on Monday night? Well, I mean, what makes you say that?
Because they've already the NCAA said it. Everybody said it. Okay. Quit reading Twitter and quit reading these. Don't believe everything you read on Twitter, JC. Okay?
This is what an Ohio State fan told me.
Okay, well, like I said, that Ohio State fan is equivalent to you as the Alabama fan. Y'all know nothing. They will play Monday night.
Okay.
Justin Fields will be fine. They will shoot him up if he can't practice or whatever. He will be ready to go. And we will talk. We'll break that game down more on Monday and get our picks and stuff. Here, John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, says Bill Hancock came out yesterday and said they were playing Monday night.
Well, that's the guy. He's the one who matters most because he's the one. So I'm for it. Let's go. And
have they announced how many fans are allowing in at this point?
I heard everywhere between 20% and 25%. Florida is a little bit more liberal with what their stadiums allow. The governor has said in the past that it doesn't matter to him how many people go to the game. It's up to local officials. So I think they're going to allow, and I think that bodes well for the Super Bowl if you want big crowds, because I think in Tampa they're going to have a pretty good crowd there too. Not a full stadium, but more than what you've seen in the past. So I think it'll be 20%. So if that stadium holds 60,000 people, you'll get between 12 and 15,000 fans in the stadium. So we'll see. I mean, they only had 3 in the Superdome when Ohio State played Clemson. They had about 16 to 20 in Dallas when Notre Dame played Alabama. I think that's what you'll see, something similar to those numbers in Miami between Alabama and Ohio State. And I'm looking forward to just a great game. Jaden Waddle, and we'll talk about this Monday, but he might make an appearance as well in that game. I don't know how effective he'll be, but he might play.
Yep. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. All right, JC.
Yep.
Let's get to our
picks.
JC and the QB Peachland Dentistry weekend picks. We got 3. This is the first year they've expanded the NFL playoffs, and I absolutely love it. They ain't even played a game yet, but you get 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday.
I know.
Should be a lot of fun.
It should be, and it's it's just amazing how if you do something different just one time when you get the opportunity, how much interest it could create. And college football, I think, missed that opportunity. But regardless of that, you're right. Saturday and Sunday, this is going to be a great day for football people. And we're going to watch football all day. That's what we're going to do.
Yep. So let's go to our Peachland Dentistry weekend picks.
First game.
And I don't even remember what your record was for the year. I don't remember because you kept bad bookkeeping. And what was your winning percentage?
What are you talking about? I kept bad. Yeah. Well, I messed up on some of the percentages before the bowl picks that we had with Brian Edwards here on the show. I was 73 and 55 or 73 and 50, and you were 66 and 57. And then we had the bowl picks. I haven't tabulated those. So I'll work on that this weekend. So we've got 6 games to go with right now on the Peachland Dental Picks Contest. And we love doing this because we go against the spread. We don't just pick the winners like every other lazy sports pundit does, because that's just too easy, right? What good does it do to listen to Randy Moss and Rex Ryan tell you that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals? I got the Bills over the Jets. Oh, okay. So we're going to go with spreads here, QB. I know that that's not a big deal to you, but it is to me because I like value. Colts +6 at Buffalo. Colts can score a lot of points. Bills may be one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now.
Well, what a good game this is. Colts have a really good defense.
First game.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen, if there's no Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes this year, he's the MVP.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to take, and Buffalo's allowing fans into the stadium for this game.
Are. That's right. The governor's allowing 5,000 to 6,000 fans.
The Bills Mafia. Baby. That's what they're called.
That's right.
They're crazy. I don't know how many are going to be there.
6,000.
I'm going to go with the outdoor team, probably
Buffalo.
playing in the snow. I'll take the Buffalo Bills, one of my former teams.
Yes, they are one of your former teams. I know you're excited when you went to Buffalo. It's a beautiful area. So I'm going with Buffalo. So I'm going with the Bills too. I think the Colts, almost played themselves out of it, but got some help when the Dolphins lost to Buffalo last week. So let's take the Bills and lay the 6. That's a lot for an NFL game, dude. It's a lot for a playoff game. But with the way Allen is playing, the way Diggs is playing, the way they can pressure you up front on the defense, I think Buffalo's the winner there. They're going to win the game by 10 points. The second game that's played on Saturday at 4:40 in Seattle, Rams with most likely John Wolford again at quarterback, getting 3.5 against the Seahawks. The Rams have really good – they play well against the Seahawks. They play poorly against the 49ers. It's one of the weirdest things you'll ever see. But they really do play well against the Seahawks for some reason. Defensively, they keep Russell Wilson in check for most of the time. But I just don't think they can score enough points. I'm not saying that Wolford's a bad quarterback, but I think they would have a better chance with Goff, even though with Goff they lost the last time they played in Seattle. But the Rams are getting 3.5. Who do you like there?
Well, gosh, this game's one of those very boring games in my opinion.
It'll be low scoring.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Seahawks. Being at home, that doesn't really matter right now. But I just think Russell Wilson will make enough plays to win the game probably by 7.
I'm going to root like hell for the Rams, and I'm going to take the 3.5 and see them lose by 3 and be disappointed. Buccaneers, who also like Buffalo, are playing really good football at a high level right now, are laying 8 to Washington, the football team in Washington. They are thinking that Alex Smith, well, he is a go, and they are much better with him than without him, obviously. But Tampa is laying 8 points. That's a big number in a playoff game, but Tampa is scoring a lot of points right now. And it's a good offensive versus defense matchup because that's where Washington's strength is on the defense.
Yeah.
What do you think there?
Well, Washington, it's a tremendous story. Another
really
one of my
is.
former teams. I'd love to see them win. They may keep it close. I just don't know if they can score enough. They have no firepower at all.
Gibson might not play.
Deke and dunk.
Well,
I think the Bucs find a way to win it and cover.
So you're going to lay the 8. If Gibson plays, I think Washington is an easy cover here. I don't think or know if he is. They won't say. They're very secretive about that, which kind of leads me to believe he will, because if they weren't secretive about it, I think they've already would have said that Gibson would be out. So I'm going to take the Washington football team with the 8 points and hope that Antonio Gibson plays. If he does, I think Washington will keep it close. If he doesn't, Tampa will pull away in the second half. Sunday's games begin with the Baltimore Ravens, who in the last 2 years have laid just tremendous eggs in their first game. Lamar Jackson literally did not look like the same player that he was during the regular season. We've all talked about why that happens to them. Tennessee's a tough team, but their defensive backfield is terrible, one of the worst in the NFL. So Baltimore is laying 3.5 in Nashville. There will be some fans there. No big deal, not much of a home field advantage at all. Can they keep Lamar Jackson in check like the two teams that beat Baltimore these last 2 seasons, and including themselves last year in Baltimore?
Well, I think it's going to be a track meet, but I like the Titans just because I like the passing game from Tannehill. Again, I've
like
said
the running
it
game
for
too.
many years that you have got to throw the football to win at a high level, and I just don't think Lamar can do it.
So 3.5 points, you're going with that, so am I. Following that game, you have the New Orleans Saints playing at home against the Chicago Bears. And you played for the Bears. You grew up watching the Saints. So I'm sure you'll be really tuned into this one, excited to watch it.
I mean, the Saints could easily blow them out, but they've been the Bears have been playing a lot better with Trubisky coming back off the bench.
You're going to take
I think the Bears defense can make enough plays. I like the Bears still to lose the game, but keep it close.
I'm taking the Bears with the 9.5 as well. Final game is Cleveland without their coach Stefanski at Pittsburgh. They played last week. Cleveland had to win the game, and they did to get in. It was still close with the way that the Pittsburgh, the backup quarterback, what's his name escaping me here? You know who it was. So they played it tough. They played it close. Pittsburgh's giving 6 against the Browns at home, last game of the weekend.
Even though they don't have their coach, I'm going to take the Browns. I think they got better talent than the Steelers, even though they struggle with them. The Steelers' offense scares me at times, but I'll take the Browns.
+6, and I'll go with the Steelers at home laying the 6, only because I don't think I trust Baker Mayfield to win that game. And I think Pittsburgh's defense and Roethlisberger are going to be too much. They'll win by a touchdown and cover by a point. How's that?
All right, JC, we got about 1 minute left. Let's pick 2 golfers that aren't in the lead real quick. Okay. You go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first, and I'm going to take the guy that you're going to take so that I can have him this time instead of you, and that is Xander Schauffele.
Okay, I'll take Patrick Cantley. You got one more pick.
All right, one last pick. Give me I'll go with Colin Morikawa at -4. I don't know if he can catch these guys, but man, if his putter gets going, give me Colin Morikawa.
Let me have I'll take Sergio Garcia.
Wow, you're going with the old man.
The Spaniard.
Okay. The Spaniard and Cantley. Wow, what brought out Patrick Cantley, if I could ask?
I don't really know. I just saw it and picked it. So, JC, have a good weekend, my man.
All right, my man.
And,
we'll talk Monday.
Talk to you on Monday.
All right.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Hey, folks, I want to tell you about one of our new sponsors, new product called G-Tech Clean. I'm going to show you exactly what this stuff does. It is outstanding. G-Tech Clean is your complete germ protection. It's EPA approved to kill COVID-19 and kills 99.9% of all germs and viruses, black mold, and also deodorizes. It's the safest, affordable way to clean and sanitize your business, no matter if it's a gym, school, retail store, or office. Use it in your home anywhere from the bathroom to the kids' room. It's formulated to provide 24/7 protection and is over 30 times more durable than any other cleaners. Try G-Tech at home as well. So G-Tech Clean. I use G-Tech Clean to keep my pot-up studio clean of any viruses, COVID included, and you should too. We're going to take our first time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll be joined by the Gainesville Sun's Zach Abolverdi. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parrish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by our good friend. We haven't had him on in quite some time, Zach Abolverdi of the Gainesville Sun. Good morning, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing well, Shane. How you doing, bud?
Doing great. We talked about the Gainesville Sun. I don't know if I read it somewhere, heard you on a radio show with Dooley or someone, but this is like a dream job for you, right?
Yeah, man. Obviously, growing up in Gainesville, Shane, I was fortunate enough that I was one of those kids that read the paper. My dad would always tease me with Florida football stories in the morning, stuff that was going on, but he would never tell me any of the names or guys that were making plays. He'd just throw the paper on my lap. So that's kind of how I got into sports journalism and kind of always got into a habit of reading the paper. I still like to have my physical copy to read. And then once I decided to pursue a career in journalism, being able to cover Florida football, work for the Gainesville Sun, I mean, it certainly was a dream scenario. But, with Pat and Robbie there, you knew that those spots were going to be filled until their careers, came to an end. And I was very fortunate once they announced their retirements that, the Sun reached out to me and was able to bring me on board.
We can't win a damn game ever since they retired.
They left at the perfect time, right? They got out right as the going was good,
So let me ask you this.
But I do want to give those guys a ton of credit because this is my first time at the Sun. I actually got my start there and worked with both Pat and Robbie, and they were really kind to me, being a young student reporter and kind of just showing me the ropes and stuff. So I definitely appreciate those guys for everything they've done for me.
Well, let me ask you this. Ever since you started with the Sun, you can't be a, quote, Gator fan anymore, right? You have to
being a kid growing up here, that the fandom kind of leaves you as soon as you start covering the team and you have to be a reporter. I mean, I kind of got that out of my system in college because you just you can't do it. And you don't look at the team from a fan perspective. As soon as you start covering them and trying to write stories, it leaves you pretty early. I mean, I always want Florida to do well, just because it's much better to write stories when teams are winning and coaches and players are happy as opposed to losing. We don't cheer in the press box or anything like that.
Right.
Although they do that at some schools, as we've seen.
Yeah, Zach. So let's talk a little bit. The Heisman Trophy. I think probably a month or two ago, everybody thought Kyle Trask was going to win it.
Yeah.
LSU game, whatever. I thought he played really well against Alabama. Forget the Oklahoma game. That had nothing to do with it. But were you surprised he came in fourth in the Heisman? I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that he was going to win, and I think that obviously Devontae Smith deserved to win the award. I was just surprised that if anyone was going to say, okay, well, I'm going to vote for a quarterback to be the winner to get first place, that Trevor Lawrence got 221 first place votes and Kyle Trask got 61. I mean, I tweeted it. It's just a joke. And no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence, is obviously he's not deserving of being a Heisman Trophy winner or being voted on. But if you're just going based off the awards criteria and specifically the production that Kyle put up against the strength of schedule with the defenses that he played versus the top defenses that Trevor played, it's just no comparison. I mean, he doubled his touchdown total through the air. And I expected Mac Jones to probably get more votes than Kyle, and probably maybe rightfully so because he won the head-to-head matchup, even though you can make the argument that Trask was the better quarterback or at least had certainly the more productive year. To finish second and third, in SEC history in passing yards and touchdowns, both of his marks set school records at Florida for single season. It's just incredible the year that he had. But even more incredible, I think, the disrespect that he got from the voters, the fact that he was left off so many ballots. When you consider the records that he, passed up, Shane, and guys that are, 3 guys sitting out front of the stadium, with Heisman Trophy statues, and he had a better season statistically than all of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Zach, when you look at this season, there was so much excitement, and you kind of ended it on a down note, losing 3 games going into the off season. What's your assessment of where the program is right now?
Yeah, it's if you ask Dan Mullen, and you can agree with him or disagree with him, he feels like the program is 6 points behind the best in the country.
Well, I don't agree with that.
That's what he thinks. And that's how he views his program at this point, is how they measured up to the best program in the country in his eyes, and that's Alabama. And he feels like when Florida was at their best, when they had the most health that they had pretty much all year, and they had all their pieces, that was the best effort that they gave against the Crimson Tide, and they finished 6 points short and not with enough time on the clock to go down the field and make a game-winning drive. Again, whether you disagree with that perception or how he's viewing things, that's how Dan Mullen is viewing it, and he made that very clear after the Cotton Bowl. He said the same thing after the Georgia game the last Georgia game that they lost. When they asked him in Jacksonville, how do you feel about where your program is stacked up to Georgia? And he goes, we're 7 points behind Georgia. And then, the next season they came back and beat them 44-28. So do we think that he's going to do that against Alabama next season? I guess we're going to find out. But again, that's Mullen's perspective. My perspective is that, they had a chance to have a championship team, and their defense cost them the opportunity to have that special season. And obviously he has addressed that as soon as the season was over by making 2 changes on that side of the ball, but he hasn't made the change that a lot of people have been calling for, and that's at the corner spot. But it's clear that Todd Grantham is going to get retained, and he's going to be back next season unless maybe another job opportunity comes his way. But the defense needs to get fixed. Mullen has clearly fixed the offense. There's one of the best offenses that we've seen in school history this past year. He fixed Felipe Franks. He made Kyle Trask and helped him become the quarterback that he became. And then he's done a really good job, I think, at building the roster despite some recruiting deficiencies and maybe some times that they've come up short. He's made up for it in the portal, and that's allowed Florida to go out and beat Georgia, a team that has, on paper, out-recruited them, and it's allowed them to compete with Alabama. But they still have to take that next step now, and I think that they got to do better in all those areas that I discussed if they want to eventually kind of become that contender that they are trying to be.
I got a 2-part question for you. Speaking on what you just spoke about. Defensively, I know a lot of fans wanted Grantham gone, but I had a guy, Steve Palazzolo, he's like the senior editor for Pro Football Focus, where they grade every play. And if you don't have like an above an 80-point grade, that means I don't know if it means you won't be drafted in the NFL or you're going to be a late rounder. He said not one Florida player the entire year graded over 80 on defense. So my question with the grading system, and I don't know how that works, and just my eye test has told me that whether it's Grantham's fault, players' fault, whatever, I think it's a combination of both. I don't think we have SEC talent, and nothing against those kids, but on that side of the ball. And in my opinion, it started with the front 7. I thought we were extremely small and just not a normal SEC defensive line. You agree or disagree with my assessment?
Yeah, and a linebacker, Shane.
Correct.
I mean, they just, and I give Ventrell Miller a lot of credit because he had big shoes to fill in David Reese. But for the amount of tackles that he had, I mean, he had probably one of the most unspectacular near 100 tackle seasons that we've seen, just because there was so much inconsistency. And I'm not picking on him. He's one of the better players in that front seven, and even he didn't have his best year, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that obviously there are some talented guys there, guys like Zachary Carter, but for part of the year he was playing out of position, and that front seven just wasn't as disruptive as it needed to be and as it had been under Todd Grantham. They ended up, I think, getting better in some areas. Certainly Kyrie Campbell coming back, helped them. And they ended up leading the league still in sacks. So, I mean, you're going to get that from a Todd Grantham defense. I think on the back end, specifically at the safety spot, is where you have the biggest concerns, because, you had guys back there, seniors that had played and had a bunch of experience and were still having the same issues. And, people can say what they want about Donovan Steiner, who I thought was one of the weakest links in the secondary. But clearly the staff kept feeling obligated to play him, because apparently he's the only guy that could make the calls and handle all the responsibilities that they needed from that safety spot. And, if anything, that kind of speaks to the recruiting, I guess, and that despite all the inconsistencies that he showed as a player, that they hadn't gotten somebody yet that could come in and supersede him and take his starting job. And you could kind of go across the board with that in some other spots on defense. So to your point, Shane, I think that the recruiting and the development and just where they are personnel-wise is certainly not as strong as they've got on the offensive side of the ball, although they still have, their deficiencies there as well, specifically in the running game, obviously. But, they need to get better there. And it remains to be seen. And I talked about this on my podcast, on the Gator Sports podcast, how these staff changes work out, who comes in as the secondary coaches, and if they can make it work with Todd Grantham and improve that product.
Yeah, we're going to get back to the coaching changes. But offensively, you made a good point. Mullen kind of figured out offense, got the Gators going.
Yeah.
My concern is we ain't going to see anything like what we saw this year offensively.
No.
Next year.
No.
We're going to go back to the quarterback runs, don't you think?
Absolutely. No, you saw it in the Cotton Bowl when they sat Trask and started building for the future. Florida had 250 yards rushing in that game. That was a season high. If there was one bright spot from that game, it was the rushing production that we saw. And that's, I think, where you're going to see this offense head more towards, with not only Emory Jones, but Anthony Richardson kind of taking over that quarterback role. And that's always, like you said, kind of been Dan Mullen's MO, or maybe what he ideally would like to do on offense. But clearly, like we've seen with Kyle Trask and Chris Leak and some other quarterbacks that he had that weren't dual threats at Mississippi State, he can adjust his system, and he will, and he'll find success with it. But I guess if you are looking at anything still that you're questioning, I guess, on the offensive side, like you said, is how is it going to look now with not only a new style of offense, Shane, but pretty much all the players across the board now that are going to be Dan Mullen recruits. It's not going to be guys that were here during the Jim McElwain era. And that's, I think, really we're going to see the identity of this offense really take shape. And that's, I think, what we're going to see this Mullen system, what it's really about.
Yep, no doubt. We're speaking with Zach Abolverdi from the Gainesville Sun. You can follow him on Twitter at Zach Abolverdi. We're here in the Titan MR, on the Titan MR hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Okay, I want to ask you about the transfer portal. We've had some guys transfer. We've gotten some guys from the transfer portal. I think we picked up a big defensive lineman from Penn State. But with the new rules for this year, with everybody having an opportunity to come back from the scholarship numbers, how many guys can we look at in the transfer portal realistically? If say there's 10 of them in there that Dan Mullen wants, and those 10 want to come play for the Gators, can we get them all?
No, not 10. I mean, I think last time I was looking at the numbers, and, I think they've gotten some couple spots that have opened up with Evan McPherson deciding to turn pro. But they were around, 25, 26 in that range that they could probably bring in this cycle. and that includes transfer portal guys. So, they still have a few spots left in this class that they could still have the scholarships for, that they have the ability to fill. And I wouldn't be surprised if many of those remaining spots get filled via transfer portal as opposed to high school prospects. I mean, maybe they sign a couple, 3, 4 more guys from high school on National Signing Day, but maybe it is only 1 or 2, and they try to fill some of those spots with portal guys. And look, we've seen this staff, Dan Mullen and his assistants, really be able to evaluate the options that are there and bring in guys from the portal that make an immediate impact. It's Van Jefferson, Trevon Grimes. We saw it with Jonathan Grenard, and then this past year they added several pieces from the portal. So I do give them a lot of credit, and I mentioned that earlier, that they do kind of make up for their shortcomings on the recruiting trail, specifically from the high school ranks, with guys that come in from the portal, and a lot of times are developed and kind of ready to step into those roles, maybe more so than the high school recruits. So I think it's not only you're going to see them do it this year, and it's going to come up here. I think they're not done probably on the defensive line. They'll probably get one more tackle from the portal, or look to at least. But this is going to be something that continues to be a trend in the years to come, in the classes to come. And it also, Shane, it kind of makes everybody have to judge recruiting and roster building and personnel a little bit differently. I mean, you still obviously, everyone's going to focus on the recruiting, and that's the bulk of it. And when I say recruiting, I mean high school recruiting. But recruiting now also is transfer portal, and how coaches decide, well, we're going to hold this many scholarships for potential portal guys and this many scholarships for high school recruiting, and trying to walk that rope and navigate that and navigate those numbers. Not everybody can do it. And once they change some of the transfer rules more, where guys get the one-time leave, it's going to be even more of a mess. But fortunately for Florida, they already have experience kind of navigating these waters.
Yep. You had a good piece the other day on potential replacements in the secondary. Give us your thoughts on who you think may come, and maybe mention some of those guys if they didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, T. Robs, seems to be the leading candidate, former Florida assistant who coached DBs under Will Muschamp and had a really good track record here as a coach and as a recruiter and developer, and guys that went on to the NFL. I think if he comes here, I wouldn't be surprised to see him, possibly get a co-DC tag, and how that works out and what type of responsibilities that he'll have in terms of game planning and calling some of the coverages. I think him and Todd Grantham will have to get on the same page. And if it's not him, or that doesn't work out, he's going to have a lot of opportunities, Shane. He might not just jump at the Florida gig. I think you might be looking, if it's not T-Rob, at somebody that's going to have some ties to either Mullen or Grantham. And one guy that I put on that list that just makes a lot of sense, if he would be interested, would be Terrell Buckley, who's currently the cornerbacks coach at Ole Miss. And Shane, you know him very well.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Maybe I should call him and figure out what he's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a guy that won the Jim Thorpe Award in 1991 at Florida State, had a 14-year NFL career, was part of the Super Bowl team with the Patriots, and he coached not only with Mullen for 2 years at Mississippi State, but he coached with Todd Grantham for 2 years at Louisville, and then for another season at Mississippi State. So that history with both of those guys would make a lot of sense. I was surprised that he didn't come over the first time when Mullen made that move to Florida, but he stayed at Mississippi State for one more season before going over to Ole Miss. So, obviously you got to, mention Doc Holliday, who recently got let go at Marshall, Deshae Townsend, who's an NFL coach right now, but coached with the corners for Mullen at Mississippi State. And a guy that I threw out there, Wesley McGriff, he's been at Auburn. I think he's probably going to be looking for a job soon. He's another DB candidate. Doesn't have any ties to Mullen or Grantham. I know some fans have mentioned Marquand Manuel to me, and Mullen should make a run at him. I don't know if he'd be interested in leaving the NFL for college. I think if any school could do it, it'd probably be his alma mater.
Where's he coaching now?
I want to say it's with the Eagles. Okay. I'm not positive on that, but he obviously has done all of his coaching post-playing career in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And so that would be a change, obviously, of scenery and job responsibility for him. So, and I don't know if he's ever been approached already to come at Florida at some point in his career and turned it down. So I didn't mention him as one of the guys because I think T-Rob or someone that has ties to Mullen or Grantham would make more sense.
You think there's a timeline? I mean, now that I don't think it's that imperative. They don't have to have someone right away because of recruiting, I wouldn't think. So he's probably just going to take his time?
Yeah, I think, obviously things have probably already developed and kind of happening, but there is no rush. And I don't think that they're looking to sign necessarily any more corners. That they're trying to obviously add Terry on Arnold. But, he's a guy that I would think that by National Signing Day, he would know who the coaches are going to be in Florida secondary.
Yep. Well, Zach, let everybody know how you've had multiple different types of podcasts. What podcast you're doing now? How they can listen to it?
Yeah, it's we do it for the Gainesville Sun. Graham Hall and I, who's our basketball beat writer, and it's the Gator Sports Podcast, and we put that out once a week that you guys can go check out. And obviously our coverage as well at Gatorsports.com. And even though football season's over, Shane, as you know, it doesn't stop around here, man. With coaching news and transfer portal news and recruiting stuff obviously coming up. So we'll still be busy.
Last thing for you. How many guys did we sign in the early signing period that are enrolling now? I guess they'd be here on Monday.
Yeah.
And how many are still in high school? And do we have any spots available still to offer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, they still have about I want to say, I think 4 or 5 spots that they could still fill. Okay. And depending on also, too, some more decisions that the guys have to make. We still haven't heard from Ventrell Miller, although I expect him to return for next season. But that could potentially be another spot that would open up. But as far as the early enrollees, I think it's going to be in the double digits. I asked Mullen specifically after the early signing period what the number was going to be. He said he wasn't sure on that yet. But from what the guys have kind of told reporters as far as their plans, I think they could have anywhere from 10 to 12 guys, which is huge numbers to be able to get in January.
Yep, no doubt. Well, Zach, good stuff, my man. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, Shane. Thanks for having me, bud.
That's Zach Abolverdi from the Gainesville Sun. You can follow him on Twitter at Zach Abolverdi. We're going to take our final time out of this Friday edition. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Sensei, Prime and Pearl, and opening soon, Dave & Buster's. In coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank our man JC for joining us and doing the Peachland Dentistry weekend picks, and also Zach Abolverdi from the Gainesville Sun. Make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any platform there is out there. Check us out. Be safe out there, folks. We will see you on Monday. Today's show is a wrap.